Hello BookTube, welcome to Lizzie Faye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and now that October is over, I thought I would do a quick wrap up of all the bookish things that I did in October, including what I read and a little bit about what's been happening on my channel this month. If you've been following my channel, you know that I did a video every day in October. I was able to catch up on some of the book reviews that I had wanted to do, some tags, so I had several book hauls, and the regular TBRs and wrap-ups and things like that. I also participated in a few different readathons. I did the Cozy-a-thon at the beginning of October. That was the first 2 weeks of October. That was hosted by Sylvia Kay, and it was mostly about the way you read as opposed to what you actually read. And that was very enjoyable. I participated in the Dewey's 24-hour readathon. I did not stay up all night this time. I did the last time. I don't know how I did, but did. This time I didn't. I got one book completely finished and then got about half done on another and then started another audiobook. So it was pretty successful. I think all total I read about 500 pages during that 24-hour period, including the audiobook. Then I sort of participated in the Spookathon. I didn't get the book read that would have met all the challenges. I started it. I read a different one that met most of the challenges. So, I wasn't completely satisfied with my participation. I did not do the buddy read that the group read that everybody was reading for Spookathon. So I sort of half did it, which is unlike me. I'm usually either all in or I don't do it at all. But it is what it is. Then, of the books I read, I finished 22 books. I had been going for 25. I didn't quite make it. But of the 22 books that I read, they were all fiction. And I read 9 books that were part of series, 13 books that were standalones, 10 that were print books, and 12 were audiobooks. As far as breaking it down by genre, 7 of them are what I would consider romance. In other words, that's the main theme. They were romance. And then 2 were adult thrillers. Then 9 that were literary fiction. Some of those would be considered women's fiction. And then 4 that were middle grade or children's books. And I have done pretty good with wrapping those up and telling you about each book through my Friday reads. So if there's any, as I go through and show these books, I'm not really going to talk about them, but if there's one that you want to hear about and you can't figure out which Friday reads video that it's on, just comment down below and I will send you a link to the video where I talked about it. A few of these I have actually done reviews of. Not real long reviews, but just enough to kind of whet your appetite, perhaps. Okay, so I also kind of broke it down by year of publication. I thought that might be kind of interesting. I read 1 book from the 20s, 1 book from the 50s, 1 from the 70s, 1 from the 80s, 2 from the 90s, 5 from 2000 to 2009, and then the rest were from 2011 to the present. So the majority were from 2011 to the present. There were 8, 9, 10, 11 of those. So I guess that's about half. Exactly half. So not a majority. But anyway, let's see. As far as videos, I did 8 reviews. I did 4 Friday reads, 4 Saturday shelfies. A couple of those I combined with other things, like I know 1 Saturday shelfie was also kind of a book haul. I did do 6 book hauls, 3 tags, and then the rest were TBR and wrap-up type videos. So, that being said, let's move on to what I read. And I'm going to try my best to tell you the narrator if it was an audiobook. So, let's start with the older books. I mentioned that I read one from 1925. That was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. It was narrated by William Hope. And I still don't get what all the fuss is about. I didn't really get it. But at least now I gave it a try. And, maybe if I'd studied it in school, then I would understand it a little bit better. I really don't get what all the fuss is about. Then the next oldest one, well, actually, no, this is from the 70s. I did have one from the 50s. I'll tell you about it in a minute. From the 70s, I read Oliver's Story. It's a sequel to Love Story. And it was better. I think it was better than Love Story, but that's a matter of opinion. Then from the 50s, one of my children's books, I did not know this was that old. It was originally published in 1952, The Chocolate Touch by Patrick Skene Catling, and it is a Midas retelling. Then I reread, both actually, The Chocolate Touch was a reread. This is also a reread, The Whipping Boy by Sid Fleischman. It's a Newbery winner, one of my favorites, and it is from 1986. Then from 1999, I read The Bad Beginning by Lemony Snicket, the first book in the series of unfortunate events. I listened to this on audio. The main narrator was Tim Curry, but there was a whole cast of actors that were doing the voices. And I will probably go back and read this in print. I have most of the books, and maybe I will tackle this whole series next year or the year after. I don't know. But I just thought, I found it on Hoopla on audio and just went ahead and listened to it. I had a little bit of time left at the end of the month, and I didn't have anything else going on my phone, and so I just listened to it. It was like 2.5 hours. Then I had one more middle grade book. This is one of our Sunshine State books for this year, Shadows of Sherwood by Kekla Magoon. It is a Robin Hood retelling, and it's the first in the Robin Hoodlum Adventure series. And I have a full review, or at least a short review of it on my channel, as well as some of the other Sunshine State books that I have read up to this point. Then, YA books. I have 2 YA books that I have already checked back into the library. The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Ahdieh and Isla and the Happily Ever After by Stephanie Perkins. So I was able to read those and finish up a couple of series there, and I enjoyed those. Then another series I finished was the Selection series. I listened to these on audio. It was narrated, they were both narrated by Brittany Presley, The Heir and the Crown, and I like them. I know a lot of people don't like these as much as the first 3, but I thought they were really good. And then I had one more YA romance, my first Sarah Dessen book, The Truth About Forever. And I listened to this on audio. It was narrated by Stina Nielsen. Then in print, I read 2 thrillers. They were written by my friend Jack Castle, Bedlam Lost and White Death. Of the 2, I think I like this one better. It was definitely a page-turner. And I'm looking forward, he's got 2 more books that are a good bit thicker than these. And I'm looking forward to getting to those next year. All right, now let's start on my women's, well, most of the rest of these are going to be the literary fiction, but this one I would consider a romance. This is my first Cecilia Ahern book, and she's also one of my collected authors that I had never read, If You Could See Me Now, and this book was magical. I literally and figuratively, it was adorable. There were a couple little parts I didn't care for, but for the most part, I really thought it was a sweet romance and just adorable. Then, now, starting on my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I said that I only had 7 that I would consider literary fiction. No, I have 9. But I only have 8 here. I don't know. Anyway, the rest of these, I've got 8 more here, and these are ones that I would consider just literary fiction. Some of them women's fiction. But I have The Second Sister by Marie Bostwick. I listened to this on audio, and it was narrated by, I keep putting my list down, it was narrated by Angela Brazil, and she did a great job. Then The Goodbye Quilt by Susan Wiggs. I listened to this earlier in the month. It was narrated by Tanya Eby. This was a mother-daughter, empty nester kind of a story that I really enjoyed, and I thought it was very good. Then one of my favorites, going to be top 3 of the year, The Good Dream by Donna Van Leer, narrated by Donna Van Leer, and she did a perfect job on the narration. So multi-talented. I can't wait to read more by her. I have already lined up all of her Christmas series to read this December, at least as many of them as I can get read, and I just loved this book. I buddy read it with Chris from Vintage Christelle, and we both really enjoyed it, and I hope there's going to be a sequel. I don't know that there is, but I'm definitely going to be writing to Miss Van Leer and asking her, begging her, please, to write a sequel. Then, one that I really wanted to love, and I just didn't love it. I liked it okay, but I didn't love it. The Readers of Broken Wheel recommend by Katarina Bevald. It was translated from Swedish by Alice Menzies. It was narrated on audio by Fiona Hardiman and Lorelei King. I recognize Lorelei King because she has narrated some Debbie Maycomber books, and they did a great job with the narration. A lot of quirky characters, but there were just a couple places where the storyline just went off the deep end, and it wasn't my favorite. Not bad. You know, it's not, I didn't hate it, but it just, I didn't love it like I wanted to. Okay. Then another one I really did enjoy, Love Mercy by Erlene Fowler. This was narrated by, where is it? Johanna Parker. I really enjoyed this. This was my first book by Erlene Fowler, one of my collected authors that I had never read, and I can't wait to read more of her books. Then one that I read for Dewey's 24-Hour Readathon. This is Before Green Gables by Budge Wilson. It is, I found out, sanctioned by the Lucy Maud Montgomery estate. They commissioned Budge to write this for the 100th anniversary of Anne of Green Gables. And it is wonderful. Then two more. This was a reread, the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society by Marianne Schaefer and Annie Barrows. I had listened to this on audio previously, and so for this round, I read it in print. I fully appreciated it so much more by reading it. When I listened to it on audio, I guess I wasn't paying attention. I'm not saying the audio was bad. I'm sure it was great. I remember enjoying it. It just didn't stick with me. Now I'm going to remember what this book is about, and it was wonderful. And I buddy read that with Vintage Christelle and Emily Sears. Then the last one, this was adorable. It was quirky. It was fun. It's very agricultural. I talked about it in my video that I just put up before this one, because I just finished this one at the end of October. Quite a Year for Plums by Bailey White. And I thought it was really fun. I think you probably need to be interested in all things country or agricultural, maybe, to get the full value of this book. It was set in South Georgia, and it's just really fun. But it's not going to be for everybody, but I really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to send it to my brother, who is a retired county agent. I think he'll get a kick out of it too. So those are my 22 books that I read in the month of October. I think I told you all of the narrators' names. Oh, you know what? I missed one. I did listen to Before Green Gables on audio, and it was narrated by Renee Rodman, and she did a great job. She sounded a little bit like Megan Follows, who played Anne in the Anne of Green Gables movies. Just her vocal quality was very similar, and so that made it nice to listen to. Then I think that is everything. Okay, so that's what I read in October. I am mostly now for November, I'm really trying to focus on nonfiction. And I said in October I was going to focus on standalones, and I got a lot of standalones accomplished, but I still had some series books that carried over from September that I wanted to finish, and I think the same is going to be true for November. I still have a few standalones and series books that I'm going to try to squeeze into November, so along with my nonfiction, because really truly I want to only read Christmas books for December, and I have several lined up, and I have kind of a fun way, I think, that that I'm gonna present those. I had an idea, a suggestion from one of you as to how I should do my December TBR, so I'll let you know more about that in the coming weeks. So for now, that is all I have for this video. I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.